I think we're live. Hey, everybody. It's Michelle Beauchard, Shelley Bosch from Parent Dashboard, and we are live with another Parent Dashboard Presents Events. And I am so excited to have you guys here today. So, but first, I want to know, who wants to know a dirty little secret of mine? Because I'm going to tell you one, whether you like it or not. So if you're on replay, definitely engage and tell me. But okay, so here's my dirty little secret. I remember the day that I slept in and missed my child's really critical special needs appointment. Like it was an important appointment, and I was so embarrassed and disappointed in myself. And I'm the kind of mom that, like, I go to the mat, right? Like I do a lot of stuff. We are strong advocates in our complex needs community, right? Like we are mama bears that are, rival FBI agents for, finding solutions and like being there for our kids because nobody else is. So I was like, oh my God, how could I fail, like this? And the reason why it happened was because I had too much to drink the night before and I didn't wake up in time. And it was really sad. And I thought, how crappy is that? And I really had to take a look, like I wasn't in crisis. It doesn't happen all the time. It was just a fluke in a sense. And I didn't, I don't think I have a problem, and I don't, but it made me stop and reflect how this happened. How could I, and how could I prevent this from happening? Because really, I sort of like, well, I was just, self-soothing, and I've got a lot of stress, and it's okay, and I'm giving myself permission, and and even that's even all true. But if we, can't find other coping mechanisms, then that's sort of what we're stuck with, right? So I basically just ran into this lady named Clare Owen, who is this fantastic life coach who finished, I'm going to let her introduce you, but this was the woman that I would have liked to have had before that happened. So I'm just going to let her introduce herself. She's from North Wales. She's fantastic. And Clare, please take it away. She's an author, a speaker, and just an all-around beautiful person. Clare Owen.
Shelley, hello. Thank you so much for having me. Hi. And thank you for such an honest introduction, because you are the exact client that I created this service for. Because like you, I didn't think that I had a problem. I still don't even accept that I ever did have a problem. Basically, I don't know about in Canada, but over here, we're well into this mummy needs wine culture, right? I don't know if you have this sort of merchandise. Can you see that?
I should probably subscribe to them.
Life happens and gin helps, right? And we've been bombarded with this messaging for years now. In my business, my mission is to say that that's over now. The mummy needs wine culture is over. It's not true. We don't need wine. We don't need gin. That's not the answer. Gin does not help. It doesn't. It might feel like it does on the moment. It might feel like you're getting that little bit of release. But what you really need to recognize is what it takes away from you and what put you in that position in the first place. Because often it's scratching the itch that it put there itself. Does that make sense? So what you drank 2 days ago is actually what's making you feel so fed up today. So it's about getting out of that cycle and recognizing that, we're special in many ways, but we're not that special that we can't get addicted to something that's addictive, especially if we've been drinking it for years like I had been. And my tolerance for the stuff was just going up and up and up, along with my waistline. I was blaming everything for that.
Quit looking in my window, Clare.
But let me share this with you. This is how much sugar is in a bottle of rosé wine.
Wow.
Now, I would drink 3 of them on a Saturday afternoon. Like, that's my secret. And it would be with ice in the garden, with the music playing. It wasn't out of a
Yeah,
brown
yeah.
paper bag. It looked good. It looked nice, you know. I fell for the glamour of it all. That's why I have my sparkles and the disco ball, because I get to keep that. I didn't realize that at first, but I gave up the alcohol. I haven't given up this. And at first we're confused as to what we think it is that we're giving up.
Right.
You know, and the first step in any of this is just awareness. In recognizing that none of this is anyone's fault. You know, God, we've got pressure from all over, all of we have, especially, you know, the mums on here. So it's not about blaming you and taking the crutch and thinking it's the only thing I've got. Don't take that. Like, if you're hearing yourself say that and it's filling you with dread, imagining life without it, like, if you add time onto that, like, where are you going with that? What's the plan? Have you got a plan?
Right. And the self-shame doesn't help. And,
No,
you
there's
know,
no shame.
you
How
know,
can you say it's shameful? This is what we've told each other. We'll give each other birthday cards, and it's the answer that your friends, like, my backstory is my friend came back in my life, and she I hadn't seen her for 4 years, and before that she was all about the makeup, would go so into so much detail about the shade of eyeliner. Would it be brown eyeliner? You know, and she came back, I couldn't wait to see her, and she wasn't the same person. I couldn't understand. And I thought, you know, like all of us should hit hard times, and I really thought that a new top and a good night out would fix it.
right.
And I
Well,
didn't
and I
know.
think it's a common experience for complex needs parents, especially over time, to, you know, you're not the same person, you know, before as you are after, right? It takes it out of you. So I can relate to your friend, you know, having changed, right?
Yeah. And I was just trying to get that bit of life that I remembered about. I mean, it was gone. Like, I mean, she died at the beginning of lockdown, and I feel as if I lost her long before that, because it wasn't her. I felt as if like she slowly slipped away, if that makes sense, because
Right.
she didn't have the same things in common. She wasn't interested in that sort of thing anymore. She slowly just gave up. It wasn't important anymore. And so my message isn't really for people in crisis. It's for the people who, before they hit that stage, it's while they still care and while they're still asking themselves, well, I'm not bad enough to quit drinking. And really they're thinking, am I? You know, like, I used to Google, you know, how much wine is too much wine. And, you know, like, I didn't plan to drink that. And usually it's how you find yourself think, well, I only wanted to have one, but I drank the whole bottle. And then we had another bottle, and then we had a gin. And so now I've got a bad head, and all I want to eat is fried food. And then I'll feel rubbish about myself. And I haven't done any of the things I planned to do to make my life easier next week. So now let's beat myself up, you know, and that's not helpful. It's about stopping and thinking, right, has it helped? And it might take a few months to decide that, no, it's not helping. And there might be times when it did help, and there might be times when it didn't. So it's really unpicking all of that and thinking, what do you want instead? You know, if you had all the energy and the motivation, what would you do with that?
Right. Well, and what could you do for your kids, and how much more could we advocate for our kids who need strong advocates? So
that's true, but I don't want this to be about guilt. That's what I feel like. I'm worried about, because I think it needs to be about you, because I'm thinking about you who woke up. And it's really interesting that you gave that example, because my avatars have all got a backstory and a case study. And Ollie, she over promises and then under delivers, because she was supposed to go to a meeting at the school and she didn't go because she had a hangover. And then she just felt really guilty. Nobody cared. Loads of people didn't go. It wasn't important.
Right.
It was just she felt horrified in herself that she'd done that. So that anything else, she kept saying, me, I'll do it. I'll bake the cakes. I'll do that. Right. I'll collect that. You know, and then she just ended up over promising and under delivering and feeling rubbish about herself again.
Right.
But if she turned to her friend and said, oh, this has happened, like, she probably would feel silly saying it out loud, or she wouldn't even get to it, because her friend would say, oh, don't be silly, have a bottle of wine, you'll be fine. You're being hard on yourself. Just have a gin and tonic.
Right.
We'll have a night out. That's what we need, is a night out. She doesn't need a night out because our teenage daughter is starting drinking. And no, but none of the other mothers are bothered, but she made mistakes as a teenager because of alcohol, and she doesn't want her daughter to make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
So she's got this kind of like disconnect between who she's been and who she now wants to be.
Right.
And
So
she's got nobody around at it to like help influence her with that.
Right. Well, and you know, we're all kind of in the same boat. When you're in the same boat, it's sort of like the forest for the trees, right? So can you tell us, so you have, you know, we were going to talk today about sort of like the 5 stages from stress drinking to healthy alternatives. Can you tell us a little bit about your process and what, like, where the stage is at, so people might recognize where they're at on the stages and where to go from there?
Absolutely, because I think I didn't want this to be so black or white to say you didn't drink for a week and then you've had a drink, so now you've failed. You know, right. I didn't want that. And, you know, I did, you might have heard of 1 year, no beer. I tried that, and it, you know, all of these things worked for me. I'm not saying one thing that nothing did, and so I created this. There's room for this. There's room for so much more than this. You know, everyone's own spin on stuff. But the things that I didn't like or didn't sit right with me with other programs is what I've pulled together here. So I feel it's the best bits, plus life coaching, plus women's health, and everything in there.
Right. So this isn't something that necessarily needs to replace anything else. People can still have, you know,
you can do it alongside. And it's also, it's the modules of my program, it's the chapters of the book, but more importantly, it's the stages that I went through.
Right.
And also the stages my husband and my clients so far have had success with. Okay. So it's the 5 avatars, and I call them my 5 pals. So we'll start off stuck like Susie. And Susie is having a great time, right? She's not in the gutter. She's having a great time. She's got a little cocktail glass.
She's feeling no pain.
She's having a good time, right? But she does have things going wrong in her life, like her relationship's not what she wants it to be, her job. She loves Friday because she hates work. You know, it's all of these things, but she's not spending any of her energy on dealing with the things. She's just drinking whenever she can and then recovering. And then it starts again. Can you see? So she's stuck. She hasn't got a clue that removing that alcohol would give her the energy on a Saturday to do something different with her life, right? And so maybe she bumps into me online, or somebody mentions my program, and she might start observing. So like Ollie's at stage 2. So she was stuck, and now she's observing. Now she's still drinking. She hasn't given up forever. I promised anyone anything. She's just observing. Now, like Ollie, this could be she's looking at other people who are further on the process. She might be on my Facebook group. I have a free Facebook group. I have a YouTube channel. So it might be that she sees somebody who's worked with me and she understands the concept, but she's looking at it and thinking, well, how will that work in my life? How's that going to look for me? Like, you know, it's all right for you. You haven't got all of these problems. And slowly, she might just start thinking, well, actually, it's right. I don't sleep as well when I drink, because she's observing herself as well now.
Right.
It's like it's switched from being just a subconscious habit to being in the front, and she's actively recognizing that she's choosing this behavior.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then she might decide, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to buy Claire's book. See, I got the plug in there. Buy Claire's book. Amazon, $12.99. Right. So she might buy the book. And a lot of us feel better once we've bought the book, but you got to read the book. You got to pick it up. You got to read it.
And actually do something, right?
You know, often this all takes time, because life gets in the way for all of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's fine, because she's been bold, she's done something, she probably feels good about herself. But the next stage from that is she has to engage in sober life. So it might be that drinking isn't the problem, but she finds it hard to relax at parties. She feels a little bit uncomfortable, and that's the only social event that she's got. It's the only, because all she's got in her life are people like this.
Right.
Because she hasn't moved on with her life to meet these positive new influences that she needs to be around in order to create and design a new type of life for herself. You know, being around other people who instead of complaining and having a moan fest, they're like looking for creative solutions and trying other things. They're being more open. And
Right.
that
And
rubs off on you.
I think in our community, you know, we get really isolated automatically anyway. And sometimes it's just like so much more energy to try and reach out that, you know, it's easier just to console yourself. So that's really interesting to me that, you know, to figure out how to switch from the coping mechanism to a healthier way to engage socially. It's an important part of the process.
Community, reaching out in the community and saying, like, whether that's in your parent dashboard or in this kind of community, to say, oh my God, today I'm having such a day, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's actually just that act of saying it out loud,
right?
That activates you to think, well, what can I do about it? What can I do about it? You know, like just to switch that to a practical, removing the emotion from pity party, me, poor me, to saying, what can I do about it so this doesn't happen again? And that's much easier to do when you haven't got even a mild hangover, and when you haven't had like a disruptive sleep, when you haven't ate rubbish and drank loads of sugar. It's just, life's just easier at this stage. The problems come and you just bat them off like that. You're like, hey,
okay,
you know what I mean? It doesn't say that the problems are gone. You just turn up differently.
You're more resilient to them. And that's really important for our folks too, because they're experiencing like sometimes daily events with their kids that they need to be able to, you know, water off a duck's back. But if you're hamstrung by, you know, the effects of the alcohol from a couple of days ago, then it makes it harder. Those things end up sticking to you and drown you, right?
Oh, and the first thing you want to do is reach for another drink, and that's that cycle, isn't it? It's kind of breaking that and realizing that, okay, for the first few days you're not going to feel better,
right?
You're not
it
going to
might get worse.
Yeah, you're probably going to feel worse because your body is used to it now. But like my clients will go, oh, I'm absolutely tired, and I'll go, well, go to sleep. You know, think of it like you're in a sleep overdraft now. You know, you owed a lot of sleep now, so you're going to be tired, and it's learning to think, I'm tired, I need to rest, instead of I'm tired, I'll have a glass of wine and it'll pick me up, because that's false energy. You're using tomorrow's energy, aren't you?
Right. And I think for our community, you know, this piece is really important, that essentially we don't, oh, sorry, I'm just declining call, that we don't get, our kids need extra support, so we can't take that break. So like where Parent Dashboard would come in, for example, would be to make sure that, you know, the worker shows up so you can take a rest. So that's where our piece comes in. But you do need to take that rest. You need to, whether it's family that takes care, or, you know, that sort of thing, finding that time to not, to, you know, to focus on rest instead of drink, for example.
Well, this is it, because even without complex needs, as a mom, as soon as I had that time, my mom, like the grandma, would take my boys. She would collect them from school on a Friday and bring them back on a Saturday morning. So I would finish work half day and go and get drunk. And she would ring the doorbell, and the time had gone like that. I hadn't done any shopping. No, the house was still a mess, because I had grabbed that back as that's my time. That's my time. And it was like a greedy need. And I didn't even see that it was making everybody's life harder in the long run.
Well, and you know, we do need that time, and we don't get that time. So, and we should have that time. It's just what we do with that time, right?
Oh yeah, that's it. And this doesn't have to be about being the fun piece, because I know everyone likes to meet up with friends, and it's however you like to relax, you know, if that's what you like to do. It's not about saying, well, you know, stop doing that. It's just looking at it and really seeing, what is it that you believe it's doing for you, and is it true? Is it working? And could your life be easier without it? Right. Because what happens is, from here to here can be a long way, but it can happen quite quickly as well. And often women look back and they go, well, I can't believe why I thought it was so difficult. Because when you're here, you think that this is the answer. It's the glue holding it all together. You start to believe that. But when you're here, you have lots of tools.
Like you said last time we talked, you know, I probably would have laughed at you if you told me I could get by without alcohol, right? Like, because it's seriously hard, sometimes.
If you didn't believe it, but it's not until you start looking and thinking, well, what's the difference? Claire's no difference to me. Like, I didn't have a car crash moment. I didn't have, I haven't been admitted to hospital or locked up. I just watched my friend and thought, if I keep going, I'm going to lose everything that I love in my life, and yes, I know things are hard, but is it making it easier? I was worried, wasn't I, Shelley? I said to you, I don't want to belittle anyone's experience because I'm here and I don't have a child with complex needs. I've got 2 children and I've relied on alcohol. I'm not suggesting that, it's different for me and it's different for you, but it's just to recognize, is it really working? Because it's not true. These things aren't true. Gin doesn't help. It's not true.
And it could be anything, right? You could be caring for a family member with cancer, or you could be going through some medical situation yourself, right?
This is Elsie's looking after her mother who has dementia. So I've tried to bring in a modern day issues that are real and tangible, that recognize that, you don't have to be in the gutter for this to be a problem because you're relying on it. And just, is it helping you? Because without it, you're going to have more energy, more focus, more clarity to solve the things in your life. Like, each stage, there's a task that I move, because a lot of them, like, she blames herself. She's in denial, but deep down, she blames herself and she doesn't believe that she can do it. Right. And then it's a case of Ollie, she's still got limiting beliefs and she thinks, yes, I understand. Okay, I get you, but maybe it's not going to work on me. So it's like building our confidence and giving our self-esteem really for her. And it's everything we've learned in the Project Next. This is all about the success cycle. When you take action and it's, you have a little bit of success and then and you just build on that. And even if you drink and you might call it a slip up or whatever you want to call it, you never come back to here. You only just go back a little bit. And then you say, well, what was it about that particular situation? It might have been a wedding and you might feel it's a celebration, so that's what you want to do. This isn't about pass or fail, it's your sober goal. And, her goal is to lose 20 pounds, so she hasn't put a time on it. You see, this lady wants to stop for 3 months to see if it improves her mental health.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? Like, how, what are some of the kind of tangible improvements that you've seen? So we've got physical, we've got mental health, weight loss, what are some of the wealth? Because you're saving money. Well,
I think both. I think what I say to my clients is, when they sign up to this, they can work through the program that way. But what we also do is we'll look at it like the 3 motivational pillars. So it's your health, your wealth, and your relationship. And I've switched it up. So I call that my dot. So I'll say to them, what's your dot this week? And your dot this week could be money. It might be, well, and it could be 2 things. It could be, yes, it's going to save you money by not drinking it. But it's also, the day you slept in, like, how many times has that happened and you've missed out on a client? Or, It does affect your wealth in that way perhaps as well. Or it could be the way that you create your wealth. Maybe the energy you have would inspire you to take on maybe another business like these oils, or something that you use that you can share with your, network. Right. Because there's other things that you could rely on. These oils could be a complete blessing for your kids as well. You don't know. It's just finding something and then monetizing it, really, isn't it? So there's that side of it as well, which is open to you if you've got more time.
Missed opportunity in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then that again is a success loop, because what does that open up to? You can pay money for, like you were saying, for more care, to give you more time off. Whereas if you just use that first time of drinking instead of building your business, then that's a dead end, isn't it? So it's giving you hope about building and creating different income stream, perhaps.
Okay. And then health-wise, can you talk about your weight loss journey? You mentioned that your how did you say it? It went up with your...
my waistline increased with me, my tolerance increased with me waistline.
Yep.
Yeah, and I used to blame bread. I did. In the worrying thing about it, Shelley, I don't know if you have a much like slimming clubs over there, you know,
like weight loss.
Yeah, those
stuff.
sort of things. A lot of the advice given to them are don't drink wine, drink not neat spirit, sorry, you know, like vodka and
right,
gin.
like the hard liquor.
Yeah, move to that with diet mixers. And that's okay, but how many people are really sticking to the measure? Are you
right?
The first one might be right, and then it's like,
not me.
yeah, you know what I mean? And then you're ringing a kebab pizza, you know, you're having the chips and
quit looking at my window, Claire.
I know, I've been there. So it's about keeping your why, and I go 7 levels deep with the why, because you think it's because you want to lose that little bit of weight. If that had been my only motivation, I would have given up way long time ago, because the 2 photographs is 3 years between those pictures. And I did hit the sugar hard mind, Shelley, I'll be honest, after I gave up, because I wasn't aware of how much sugar I was drinking. Right. And I would tell you all day long I didn't have a sweet tooth. Well, of course I didn't, because I was getting all my sugar from this.
But meanwhile, your body's in withdrawals.
So it's chocolate hobnobs, still now, I still have a problem with them. But I do think it's given us more energy. I've been obviously walking more. I have my hula hoop. I don't go running, right. But I've kind of gone back to the same weight I was before I even drank, like my teenage weight. And I never thought it was bad. I've got a flat stomach. I live at the top of a hill. Right. So I walk up the hill every day. And it's just, everything's changed. I'm not just sitting in the same seat with an alcohol-free drink. Right. Like, my outlook's changed, where we live has changed, how everything's different, really. And it's just amazing. But if you think about it, it's a depressant. I wasn't even giving myself much time without a daily dose of depressant. Right. And then wondering why I wasn't feeling that tip top.
Right. Like, yeah, and we have enough going on in our own neurobiology from the stress that we experience, that would be already in there. So, you know, pushing yourself down even more, you know, neurologically.
It's learning about all of that sort of thing. It's like when you recognize that, when you take a drink and you sit down, you go, oh, I feel better now at the end of my day. Actually, it takes 20 minutes for the alcohol to get in your system. So you can have that feeling with a glass of lemonade. That's just you quenching your thirst. So it's like that. And then what happens is your body, because of the poison, your body floods with a chemical, and that's what actually makes you feel all woohoo, you know. And then if you have like 10 drinks and you go to sleep, your body is still processing all of that. So that's why you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with anxiety, because your body's, it's like adrenaline. Right. So knowing that, like, actually you start thinking, oh my God, my little body. And like, if you eat, say tonight you had beers and a pizza, your body can't process the pizza because your liver has to work so hard all night processing them beers, the alcohol.
Right, because your body prioritizes certain things first. Right. Okay.
Well, store the pizza as fat until it's got time, but then you wake up tomorrow and you start, you know, whatever you have for breakfast, then it's got to deal with that, and then you have a drink after lunch. So then it's back dealing with the alcohol again. Right. And it's like little things like that you think, oh my God, that makes sense. And that's all observing until you get to a point where you go, this doesn't even taste nice anymore. Right. But it's up to you how much you observe. You can close your mind to it, which sometimes people do. They're like, oh, I've got a wedding and I've got that holiday I'm going on, so I don't want to look at, you know, I don't want to immerse myself.
This is going to be so fun. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't want to immerse themselves. And then always when they do, they're just so proud of themselves, because when they're going out and they're busting their moves when they're sober and getting up the next day and they don't have a hangover and everyone's saying,
so you talk about that. You talk about having kept your sparkle. What's that? You know, like you feel like you're doing being the disco ball queen without the alcohol, right?
Yeah, because I think my job before was in property maintenance, like would buy properties and I would renovate them. So my job was running to the tip. I would have scruffy old clothes on, covered in paint, and I would love when the weekend came and I could get all glamorous. But as soon as I got glamorous, then it would be like drink, 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 you know, and I wanted to keep that part of my drinking, and I wanted to give up the miserable drinking through the week that I was doing. But I tried that for a long time and I couldn't because I just couldn't do that. It was too hard. But I know now it's because it was just like a withdrawal. My body was craving the alcohol. And so I just would have a miserable week, whether I drank or I didn't drink. You know, because I was aiming for that weekend. But then it got to the point where I was thinking, well, I'm getting all glamorous dressed up, but really we've stopped going to all the places. Now we're just sitting in the local pub. And I don't feel glamorous when I go home. I feel glamorous for about 2 hours, where now I've changed my career because I didn't want to do that job anymore either. That was making me miserable, but I couldn't have the time to change it. Now it's like I can put my glamour on anytime I want. But it really took a long time for us to recognize that, and it seems crazy now. But it was like, oh, drinking and glamour, that goes over there. I can't do that anymore. Oh, okay. Oh, you know, in that I'm in control of that. My brain had just attached those two things together, and it's not.
Well, and I think probably for, you know, I don't know, it's my hallucination that in our community, it's sort of like nothing really to do with as much as with glamour as, you know, I need this to cope, right? And or I deserve this to, you know, as a reward to myself.
When I call glamour, I mean like the whole culture of it, like this. Right. Saying, you know, life happens and I deserve, like you said, I deserve it. If you look at the history of gin, it really, like, study the history of gin. It's nothing there for you to be deserving. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's that sort of language, and that's what I mean. Like thinking, I'll have this because I can, and so therefore I should have this, like, kind of feeling.
Right.
Where really when I unpicked it and I looked back at when I first started drinking, what was the attraction? And it was like the 80s, the glitter balls and the dry ice smoke and, you know, the neon lights and the wine bar. And, you know, I felt like I had to give all that up. That's what attracted me. It wasn't actually the alcohol in the glass that took my friend.
Right. And maybe, you know, for just having some semblance, even for some people, it'd be just like having a semblance of peace, right? Just like being able to take a break. You know, some people it's the disco ball wine bar. Sometimes it's just detachment from, you know, stress. You know, I can't imagine how many other things there could be, but everybody's got their own reason.
Well, this is true. You could be drinking because you want to escape. It's different reasons, but don't underestimate like the value of, I put my makeup on in the morning, like when I go live on my group, because I feel I want to show myself not completely naked, but you know what I mean? I want to show myself like my vulnerability, and that's part of what I do. And the other side, I feel of it like it's like a tool. Putting something sparkly on makes you feel amazing.
Yeah.
And we attach that feeling to, I had a lovely time when I had that night out, when I got drunk. But actually, if you get dressed up, you're in control of that. Yes, you might be having a bad time. Things might be going wrong, but you can control that. You get up, wash your hair, and you feel better.
Right. Well, and creating that in our lives, right? Like that we're not just sort of like, we're the architects of our lives, and we can create that space and mindset for ourselves rather than, you know, kind of we're always sort of like feeling pushed around or, you know, subject to or victims of, and, you know, pivoting from having all of that and just coping to, okay, what can I do? How can I structure this? What can I have better in my life for me? And that part's okay, because we do deserve it. But like, what is it that's going to actually help me go from a downward spiral back up to a positive spiral, right? So, can you talk? I'm just going to ask everybody. Anybody who wants to ask Claire questions, feel free to either put it in the chat here in Zoom if you're live, or if you're on replay, to leave your questions, because Claire's in our community and we'll see it, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer questions. So let's just feel free, or raise your hand if you're in the Zoom here, or signal us somehow that you have a question. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask Claire. Okay, so if you've just come out with this book. It's just got published. It's raising, dinging all sorts of bells. Can you tell us about what's in it and like what the function of, like you mentioned, it had like worksheet almost like components. What does it do?
I wanted to design it a bit more like a magazine style book rather than a book with lots of
textbook. That would be nice. Thank you.
So it's got lots of it's got all the avatars on that I've shared with you. They've all got a case study. And it has obviously a little bit about my story, about the self-education revolution and how that's really helped me. And about the concept. So for me, the book's all about people understanding the concept, because in the 1930s in America, two men created AA. And they created AA for the cultural situation at the time. So men, it wasn't even mentioned about women. AA was not designed anything to do with women. Women weren't even part of that discussion, right? So it was created for men to feel that they had so much power, they had to give up their power. And yes, it's done really, it's helped many people, and I'm sure that people who are using AA could still use my service as well, and vice versa. But my book's really designed for the ladies who wouldn't go, they don't recognize themselves as that person. Or maybe there's just like that shame attached to that and not wanting to feel like they have to take that badge. Now, the problem with it sometimes is we do kind of sometimes get pushed in that way, because when you say to people, I'm not drinking, they want you to follow up with saying, it's like, well, why?
Why? Yeah.
Why? And you go, well, I'm not pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, are you an alcoholic? Have you got a problem?
Yeah, have you got a problem? Right.
No, and I don't want a cigarette either. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean it's like I've just a choice. And sometimes it's that conversation, and that's where this engaging part, you have to have that conversation, because you have to stand up and say, but there's a choice. I don't need a drink. I can still have fun. I can have a cup of tea. And the friends around you might be absolutely horrified. I would have been when I was stuck like Susie. I would have said, oh, well, I have to drink on my own. I would have wanted you to drink with me.
Right.
And that's my problem. And it's that sort of conversation that I'm hoping this book's going to help address, because I think there's a lot of sober shaming going on, and women are worried about that. They're thinking, well, what will my friends think? And there's this whole thing about being part of a social code, like we've signed up to this social code, and if we don't drink, then it's like we're letting everyone else down. It's like, the party mentality.
Yeah, it's unconscious, right? Because it just is what it is. But yeah, it is a new culture. It's a new era. I'm really interested too in how, maybe another time we'll have to come back and tell us about how you basically, you work through your story. I mean, you used to be you used to help volunteer at a recovery center, and you went through your own process, and then basically you went through, your own story, essentially developing your own story into something that now you're making income from. So that's that is, and I think about our community and how many amazing people have such amazing stories that with their the journey that they've been on with their children and the things they've learned about life. Because if anything, our complex needs kids, I feel, basically just act like an amplifier. So like if there was a problem, if there was some sort of subtle unconscious issue, our kids just like shine a spotlight on it. It's like, okay, yeah, we need to think about or deal with that, right? Like whether it's a crack in your relationship or it's, financial, maybe you're kind of skating along with your finances, but you haven't really had a big plan. It will put pressure on that, and, you will see the issues, or, relationship or your health, it pushes you into the red on your health. And if you aren't, like good with your health, it really hits all of the areas. It's just like an extra amplifier. And yeah, it's just really good to have the kind of tools that I'm hearing that you're saying that are in the book, like the concrete stuff, right? Like that's one of the pieces that I like, that I try and strive for is with our community, is providing them like actual concrete things for their lives, because you know we all get busy like with our advocacy, or we're just like managing the medical appointments or the needs or the school, or you know, like all of these things, and we don't ever like get our tools in place, right?
Yeah.
Or the actual things we need in place, and because we're just like coping. So this is really beautiful for you to share this piece with us. Thank you.
I think the two things for what you said there was definitely what I want to create is a community where I empower the members to find out what, like you say, what skills they've got, what can they share. I see this as something that I've seen. Like I want to say to my clients, what did you see? Like, what have you seen? And obviously going through the experience and being an advocate for your child and, you know, fighting for them and meeting other parents probably with different issues and different ways of looking at things.
Yep.
And because a lot of this is about finding your own voice. I would love to offer it to your community as well. I do have a new slot that I'm doing on YouTube called In Your Opinion, right? Or In My Opinion. And it came from last month I was invited on a radio show and I had to start my blurb with In My Opinion. And honestly, Shelley, the empowerment I felt, because, you know, when you're trying to say these things online and we're, you know, there's always that worry about what other people think, and you're coming from this angle and there's loads of people coming from that angle. Right. Where if you say those 3 simple words at the beginning, you can pretty much say anything you want.
Well, and a lot of us have a lot of opinions because there's a lot of things to have opinions about with our kids and our government and how they, you know, how it all gets managed, right?
I wanted to say to women as well, like I wanted, whether you've ever had a drink problem or you haven't, or you think this is a concern for you or you haven't, like you've still got a voice and you've got something to offer. So maybe you've listened to this and you've thought, well, that's a little rubbish, nothing for me. Brilliant, you don't need it. So come and tell me about a time when you were bold, and to share with the clients when you didn't rely on wine. How do you manage? Like I've got my tools and stuff, but so many other people will say, well, I don't rely. What do you do when things go wrong? Because I was taught this from my parents. It comes down through your generations. And if we don't learn from them, we need to teach each other, don't we?
Aw, thanks. And I just, Colette, we really appreciate you being here. Just a comment from Colette in the chat here. She needs to go, but she so appreciates this so far, and she will be getting your book. She feel a breath of fresh air to move forward. So thank you so much for being here, Colette. And
yes, I'm going to have to look at things a lot differently. I've been, you know, chasing this dragon for a while. And for me, it was an exchange for eating disorders. So it's been a long term, and I am doing the trauma work, but that doesn't deal with that part.
Excellent.
Specifically, right? So
yeah,
I'll
happily connect with you and have a one-to-one chat. I know Shelley mentioned before the call, you know, if you think that would benefit you, Colette, it'd be lovely to chat and find out how it's shown up for you.
And I'm going to check out your Facebook group too. So,
and we'll put the links to all of Claire's book link page and her her group and anything else. And she mentioned a couple of videos that she could share. So we'll put those. Yeah, we'll put all.
And I could just sit and listen to you. And your accent it just sort of hypnotizes.
Isn't she delightful? We are so lucky that she's with us.
Oh, I'd love to come back. I'll happily come back because I think it's so good what you're doing, Shelley. And I mean, I know the struggles that, you know, we're all battling away, and it's just like a way that we can link arms, and you know, this is helping me as much as you think it's helping you, you know.
Yeah. No, I know it's a two-way street, and I really appreciate this so far. And I'm sorry I do need to go.
No,
but Thank you
I
so
think we're
much.
almost done here anyway. So thanks so much for
Okay.
being here. And yeah, everybody can grab the links. You know, this is the kind of thing that we're hoping to do in our community here at Parent Dashboard, is just bring you these resource people who are awesome, and then bring you actual tools. I did want to make sure everybody knows that on May 2nd, we're having this amazing event with neurobiologist and occupational therapist, Kim Bartel. We've sold out, but watch for information coming out of that, because we'll probably be sharing some clips. Yeah, we're really all about here finding, we help parents of complex needs kids find better balance with health, wealth, and childcare. And we've got some exciting developments coming up in response to the hub situation. We're not participating in the hub situation, for those of you in BC who know, but we do think we've got a social purpose enterprise model figured out now, where we can start to reduce the amount that people are paying for respite and BI and homeschooling, and at the same time help them connect with their chosen providers and help the providers connect. And so we'll be making some announcements coming out here in the next few days, and maybe in a week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we've got, we'll see you, I think, next month. It's every last Saturday. And next month, I can't even remember who, I think it's Claudia Tabato that we have next month. What's it, May? Yes, Claudia Tabato, the Unstoppable Mom, How to Prevent Burnout. So watch for that, and we will take it from there. And Claire, I just want to thank you again for being here and sharing your story and how you've transformed your life on a multiple levels, and for being here in our community to support us.
You take care. Bye.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a great day.